Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks Live. And let's see, today I'll kick this off by telling y'all something I did yesterday. I pulled some pretty Gen X shit yesterday. Not on purpose, I wasn't purposely doing it, but afterwards I thought about it and it was pretty Gen X. Hey Bucky, what's up? Stephanie, how's it going? Glad to see y'all here. Thank you. Glad you could make it. But I don't know how many of y'all are paying attention to my tiny house videos, the shorts I put up once in a while. I'm not real regular with those, but I'm building a tiny house out there for a guy. And anyway, I had to stop and get a couple of sheets of plywood yesterday morning. And at Lowe's, they have these flat carts and they're metal and they're painted. And I jerked the first piece of plywood up like this, and it had the friction of the second piece of plywood beneath it, and I stood it up on that plywood, and I put it into the van. I jerked the second piece up, and it had the painted surface beneath it, the painted metal of the cart, and the bottom just slid right out. And the plywood's heavy; it's like probably 100 pounds a sheet. Well, the bottom slid out and came down, and it landed right on my toes of my right foot. I'm pretty sure it broke one and possibly two of them. But anyway, I'm sitting there down, on my knees in the Lowe's parking lot, howling in agony. And I got done. I got finished over the agony, the pain of it, of the initial situation there, and I got up and put the second sheet in the van and closed the door and drove to work. And after I was there for about 4 hours, and then the owner come walking down there, and he asked me what was up. He saw me kind of hobbling around, and I told him what had happened, and he was like, "Holy shit, dude, what's it look like? Did you pull your boot off and look at it?" I said, "No." I told him, I said, "Well, there's, I've had broken fingers before and stuff, and there's nothing really you can do for it. If I go to the doctor over it, he's going to give me a couple Tylenol or something, and that's it. He's going to charge me, I don't know how much money." I said, "And if I take my boot off and look at it right now, the way it feels pretty bad, and I know the impact, I was there, so it was pretty bad." I said, "And if it looks as bad as I think it does, then I'm going to want to go home if I see it, so I'm not even going to look at it." So I didn't. But he kept asking me throughout the day, "Oh man, your toe." He said, "You got to look at it, dude." And I just kept kind of shrugging him off, but eventually he talked me into it. I took my toe off, my boot, my sock off, and I showed him, and he was like, "Oh shit, dude." I don't know, I can't believe you're still here, dude. That looks bad. He said, your toes are so purple, they're almost black. I was like, "Well, there's nothing I can really do about it, dude. I'm here. I got to pay the bills. My bills aren't gonna, turn purple and fall off." I said they still got to be paid. So I don't have much of a choice. So I hobbled around, and it didn't slow me down too much. I just couldn't, bend over and kneel or anything real quickly like I was before. But as far as walking around, it didn't slow me down a whole lot. Lake, what's up, Lake? Brad, glad to see y'all here. Greasebag, hey, glad to see you here, man. Jeff 7, all right. Tripwire, good morning, Trip. Down there on the other side of the plate, it's morning over there. I guess it's not down there. I guess it's across there on the plate. So, good morning, Trip. Yeah, I got home and my wife looked at him and gave me some stuff and helped bandage me up. They're actually looking a little bit better today. You know how bruises do? They start turning yellow and stuff. You know what I mean? And then the guy told me, I'll understand if you don't come to work, Monday. And I said, no, I'll be there. I can't. I said, you don't have to worry about that. I'll be here. I might be limping a little bit, but I'll be here. So, but yeah, I did, Stephanie. Thank you. But then as I was involved in it, and I just had to work. I didn't have a choice. Like I said, I've got bills to pay. I don't have the luxury of calling in sick and taking time off to heal. And I believe that a lot of Gen Xers are in the same position as me. Maybe not exactly. Maybe y'all have been a little more fortunate or a little better with what money you've had. But my point is that the younger kids, they don't even have jobs, let alone, I remember when I was in the Army, we would drink all into the wee hours of the morning, sleep for, not really sleep, but kind of pass out or whatever for an hour or 2 hours maybe, and then get up at 4 a.m. and then run 5 miles. Yeah, puking into the ditch beside us. That's just how we did shit the whole time, We never let shit slow us down. Holy shit, yeah, that I know exactly how you feel, Greaseback. That's what I just went through. I don't even want to do the math on the pounds per square inch of that 80-pound sheet of plywood landing, about a 3-inch strip across my toes, and it's a 1/4 inch thick. The pounds per square inch were probably, rocket science type of level. Yeah, we don't have time to bleed. Exactly. Yeah, Jesse the Body. That's my favorite quote in The Predator. I ain't got time to bleed. Yep. But, yeah, and we just grew up like that. I mean, we'd wreck our bicycles and get up, bleeding profusely from an elbow or a forehead or a knee or whatever. And that was just par for the course. Because a lot of times if we went running home, they put some Bactine or something on it, something that burned like hell, and and then we wouldn't be able to go back outside for the rest of the day. So damn that. We wrap our t-shirt around it or something, or get it to quit bleeding somehow, and then keep playing, keep doing what we were doing. That's just how we grew up. That's just what it was. And it didn't, at the time, we weren't trying to be tough. The only reason that Gen X is known for its toughness now is because the younger generations, by comparison, are so weak, Oh, yeah, okay. So you know what I'm talking about too, Stephanie. Yeah, yeah, that kind of stuff hurts, but yeah. Too late to care. Damn right, Dead Wolf. Hey, Dead Wolf, glad to see you here, man. But yeah, we never have let injuries and stuff slow us down, unless it was bad enough to knock us unconscious or something, and we had no choice but to slow down. But as far as just pain and gutting it out, that was just par for the course. That's just what we did. We weren't expected to, go running home crying every time we wrecked our bike or whatever. We picked the gravel out of our knees and our elbows, and we got back up on our shit. You might have internal bleeding, zombie P10W. Yeah, it's supposed to be inside, right? Yeah, I see what you're saying now. Yeah, it is supposed to be inside. But yeah, but these weaker generations now, I mean, they don't even go outside hardly, let alone go outside and get rough and tumble and get injuries and experience life and all this shit. Everything's done online, and I really do not see the attraction of that. I mean, aside from building communities like this kind of stuff on on YouTube or different things like that, building communities and touching base and having conversations or whatever. But to just live your entire life in the virtual, and that be what's important to you, you know, that be the thing, that this fraudulent stuff online be what's important to you, that I don't know, that just seems weird to me. I don't understand how other people can get wrapped up in that. Not much left of you anymore, huh, Dead Wolf? Oh, Plow. Zombie Plow. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we did a lot of that stuff ourselves too. Filled one of your teeth when you were 20. That's hardcore shit there, Greasebag. What'd you fill it with, dude? Did you melt down some... Well, I don't even know what the hell fillings are made of. My wife knows, but I don't know. I have no idea. Oh, cool. Thank you, Brad. I appreciate that. Yeah, but I'd like to know what you filled your tooth with. What kind? With gold or something, or silver? That'd be cool. Oh, unsanded tile grout. All right, Greasebag, you've got the crown today for the most hardcore shit. Just burned a tick off your leg. Zombie Plow, yeah, I've done that many times. Yeah, ticks are common down here. Yeah, all you have to do is go walking out in any kind of brush, you know, anything taller than grass, well, or even tall grass, you'll get a tick on you. Yeah, super glue and cuts closed. Yeah, we did a lot of that. Yeah, that's hardcore, Stephanie. Yeah, I've never filled one of my own teeth. Let's see, the best I've done is pull one of my fingers back into socket, you know, because it was dislocated. I think that's the well, I've cut myself open a few times to dig stuff out, you know, dig out splinters and metal slivers and stuff like that. So I've cut myself pretty deep on purpose to remove stuff, not like being a cutter or whatever. One of those emo things they do, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know if y'all have heard that story, but another story for you, goofy ass story from when I was a kid. My dad was a horse trainer, and he had us start training ponies and stuff when we were real young. I was probably in middle school, junior high, and I was riding this horse, and it was barn sour, which meant that it would turn around and come back to the barn. It was a pony, not a horse. It would turn around and come back to the barn, and you couldn't do anything to stop it, right? And it would just come back to the barn when it got tired. So I'm trying to stop this horse from going back to the barn, and it starts running back to the barn. And there was a hitching post nailed across two trees, and the pony was running. It was going to go right under that hitching post. Well, I could see the height of the hitching post, and it was going to hit me about in the belly button, right? The pony would have got underneath it, but I wouldn't have. So just, you know, I'm trying to stop it or turn it or something, and just before it got to the hitching post, I bailed. I dove off of it. Well, as soon as I started diving off of it, the pony turned, and I dove off into the tree, the roots of the tree at the bottom. Just a mangle, like some Wile E. Coyote looking shit, right? I just crashed right into and this tree was, you know, 3 feet wide. It was not a little bushy tree. It was a tree, probably 100 years old. And I piled up into the bottom of that tree, and I got up, and this finger was pointing out. See if I can get it where y'all can see it. But this finger was pointing out in a weird direction like that, my pinky finger. And so I knew my dad would kick my ass for getting hurt, and he was going to kick my ass probably for letting the pony get away and all this shit. So I didn't want to get in any more trouble than I actually absolutely had to. So I grabbed my finger and I just popped it into place, and that shit was painful. I don't know how many of you have done that. Maybe sometimes you do it and it doesn't hurt, but that shit hurt. when I pulled on that finger, it took everything I had to pull on that finger and get it back in, facing the right direction. But yeah, I was probably about 12 years old, something like that. Oh, it lasted, your self-filling lasted longer than the one the dentist did? I believe that. I believe it. Oh, giving away everything you own? All right, Dead Wolf. All right. That's some cowboy shit there, Greasebag. That's some stuff you do out on the open range. Oh, yeah. Hey, Warren, glad to see you here, man. Yeah, palmetto bugs and no-see-ums. Yeah, we got plenty of those down here. We got palmetto bugs big enough to saddle and ride. Those sons of bitches. Those things are huge. Ooh. Zombie plow. Used a magnet to remove steel splinters from your eye. Holy shit, I don't even like to think about that one. Yeah, that's a hell of a procedure there. Yeah, ponies are. They are, yeah, Stephanie, ponies are little monsters. They're the horse version of the Chihuahua. Yeah, they are little monsters. Demonic little bastards, yeah. I probably have. I've seen a lot of horses and ponies, so I probably have seen a couple of good ponies, but I don't remember them. All the ones I remember were just ornery as hell. Oh, okay. Shattered your leg on your horse? Yeah. I've had a lot of collisions and wrecks and stuff on horses. I've been struck and bucked off and rolled with and all kinds of stuff, and actually had the horse trip and fall beneath me and all kinds of crazy stuff. But I've never really had a major injury from that, from riding horses. Never. I don't know, maybe because I was really young and my body was more flexible and pliable, I don't know, or maybe it was just luck. But yeah, I never really came out of that with any bad injuries like that, like a really good broken bone or anything. No. But growing up like that, it would have been a lot cooler if my dad had done more with it. My dad was a horse trainer, but he didn't like the government and all that, right? And he hated politicians and all the stuff you're supposed to hate, but he never did anything with it. He never come up with conspiracy theories or anything, and he just wouldn't get a job because he didn't want to. He felt like that was being a sheep, just working for a living. I was like, dude. Now I look back, I'm like, you had 4 kids, dude. You should have got a job. But he never did. Oh, put you into the posts once? Yeah. That those horses, even they can accidentally, because they're so big, they can accidentally break you up. You know what I'm saying? They can accidentally bust you up, not even on purpose. Yeah. Yeah, Warren, me and my wife have one Chihuahua. We named him Wiley after Wile E. Coyote. And, yeah, he's a little terrorist. He's always angry. He's always pissed off, no matter what. You give him a treat and he's mad. He's growling all the time, constantly. He's got the worst, the worst attitude of any dog I've ever met. He's always angry. You scratch him and he'll growl. He's a little shit. But I love that about him, He's just a little bad attitude. Ohio Valley Prepping. What's up, dude? Glad to see you here, man. Glad you could make it. Oh yeah, y'all, it's fig season too. My fig tree out there is producing a whole lot of figs this year. I go out there and just pick a bunch of them and eat them right off the tree. I love that shit. And that's another thing. Speaking of, he reminded me of it. Ohio Valley prepping stuff. If you're into that kind of stuff, trees are a really good prep. Especially fruit trees, because they don't take a lot of maintenance, you know, and so you don't really have to do a lot to take care of them. Just put them in the ground, water them once in a while when you think about it. But a tree will do a lot, you know, a lot better without water than other kind of plants. And they give you, once they get big enough, they give you food every year. You know, it's not just a one-time thing. So just having food like that, I'm like a Johnny Appleseed, but I got all kinds of different trees. I have loquat trees and fig trees and banana. Well, banana's not technically a tree, but banana trees. And somebody on here, I forget who it was, but somebody on here recommended that more. I should have wrote it down. Now I can't remember it. It's a tree from India. So I got those, and I've been trying to sprout the seeds. I just had my first one, start to sprout. So I planted that. It's called the like medicine cabinet of the plant world. So I'm starting to grow those too. I've been reading about them. Now, I can't even remember the name of the tree to tell y'all. And I was just talking about it with my wife. Oh, yeah. I tried to drown your ex-husband in a river, Stephanie. I bet that was fun to watch. Yeah. Jason Lamore. How's it going, Jason? Glad you can make it, man. No problem. No problem. We're just talking about about horses, broken toes, steel eye splinters, and self. What would you call that? What would you call that? Self surgeries and stuff. Yeah. Who was it that did that? I'm trying to remember now. Greasebag, wasn't it? Wasn't it you, Greasebag? Yeah. Greasebag gave himself filled his own filling, drilled his own cavity out and gave himself a filling. So far Greasebag's got the hardcore trophy for today. I can't touch that shit. Drilling into my own teeth and stuff. Yeah, exactly, Ohio Valley. Growing your own food is going to get more and more important. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be, I tell people this all the time, but it does not have to be like, a post-apocalyptic or apocalyptic scenarios, deep bunker prepping and all that stuff. Just, you should be prepared just in case of emergency. And I am totally aware of that because I live in Florida where we get hurricanes almost every year. The power will be out for 2 or 3 weeks at times, and the stores will be completely emptied of all water and food, and they'll just be emptied out a week before the hurricane comes. So you've got to be able to take care of yourself with the advent of any kind of emergency. Flooding in Texas the last few days, wildfires, just all kinds of stuff. There are all kinds of reasons why you want to be prepared for different situations. And growing your own food is a very, very good way to prepare for any emergency situation. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Pony'd be running at full speed and just flop over on its side and lay down, yeah, at the same spot in the pasture. Yeah. Horses and ponies are the worst though, but horses are crazy. All animals, I get a kick out of them. Yeah, I've always been around animals my entire life. But yeah, so if you're into that kind of stuff, I think one of the most overlooked ways to prep for any emergency really is fruit trees. They give you food for decades, and they don't take a lot of damn maintenance. Once you put them in the ground, they're there. You just have to do some research and find out what grows best in your area. That's the most important thing. You don't want to try to plant banana trees in Montana. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to grow. I mean, they'll grow a little bit, but they're not going to produce any bananas ever. But yeah, and I'd like to do the whole solar thing too. That would be interesting. And I've had conversations with people about gas prices and all that, and why don't they make start making a car that'll get 100 miles to the gallon? And I told him, I said, well, what the hell good will that do? If everybody had a car that could go 100 miles a gallon, if that became the standard, then gasoline will be, $65 a gallon. That's not going to help us. They can just change the price of gas. That's not, so that's going to do absolutely nothing. Then people will be crying, we need a car with 500 miles to the gallon, and then gas will be $350 a gallon. That's not that whole. We need to unchain ourselves from the gas pumps somehow, whether it be electric and solar or hydrogen or whatever. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that we can't keep doing this and keep ourselves chained to these gas pumps. Not for everyday life, not if we want real actual freedom. If they don't want us to go anywhere, all they have to do is raise the prices of gas so high that we can't afford to. That's an easy fix right there. What, you think you want to go, drive to Georgia and check some shit out? I don't think so. We'll just jack the gas prices up to where it's out of your reach. But that's my thing. I've said it before. I think that I really want to. I don't want a car. These newer cars. I just saw. My wife watches those. I call them murder shows. They're the ones with the true crime things, and it's always the husband killed his wife or the wife killed her husband or something, and they're trying to figure out who did it, whatever. Well, they busted this lady. They killed her husband or killed somebody by just going into the computer in her car and pulling the information out, and they found out where she had been going for the last 30 days or whatever it was, and that was it. They pegged her. She was at the crime scene, you know what I mean? At the time that the guy died, and they knew it because there was a chip in her car. I'm not saying, that any of us are going to be criminals or anything, but hell, I just don't want people being able to do that shit. I don't want people monitoring me. That just rubs me the wrong way. That's not freedom, I don't like it. And I don't think many Gen Xers do. I think I'm a pretty average Gen Xer when it comes to that stuff. We love freedom. We grew up in such a way that we had so much freedom as children and stuff that somebody impinging on our freedom and trying to monitor us and follow us around and shit, where are you going, what are you doing, and all that just rubs us the wrong way. Yeah, land of electric golf carts. Yeah, Stephanie, we got plenty of those. And those old people will drive them drunk. Yeah, they that's probably, they get more DUIs in electric golf carts than any other kind of vehicle probably down here. Oh, I believe it, Brad. That probably sounds right. Gasoline was waste from diesel fuel production, yeah. They used to burn it off back in the day, yeah. Wiley Ann, glad to see you here. Glad you can make it. And have any of y'all seen the thing where this whole fossil fuel thing could be a complete lie? They've been telling us that gasoline or oil is made from organic materials and it's got to be buried for millions of years and all this stuff. But as it turns out, that they're digging down, 30,000 feet into the earth crust and getting these deposits of oil. It's possible, and it seems likely now that oil is just something that the earth produces. All right, and we'll never run out of it. That's why they keep finding all these huge reserves of oil, because the earth is constantly making it. So all this energy shortage and the fossil fuel and all this is all a big lie. Now that is what I've read, and I've seen it in a couple different places. So what do y'all think about that? Have y'all done any research on that? Have you heard that before? Yeah, they had us believing it was a finite resource, greasebag, and they could manipulate us with it. Oh, there's an energy shortage, or we're going to run out of energy, and in 2 years, and and manipulate the populations with that. But now, as it's turning out, that might not be true. I'm not saying 100% I'm buying into it, but I don't 100% discard the idea either. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense. How the hell did could the earth get organic material, that much organic material, down 30,000 feet under the earth's surface? That's too deep. That doesn't account for most of the organic material gets run off by the water, by the rain, and runs off into the ocean. It doesn't get folded back up and pushed down into the earth. You know what I mean? So the reserves are filling up. Yeah, Lake. That's what I've been hearing. The earth just produces the shit somehow. I mean, I don't know how. I haven't heard that part yet. Yeah, we can't prove it, Dead Wolf. I don't know, but that's the messed up part of shit, is that anyone could believe that our powers that be, the governments around Western civilization, the corporations, these institutions, they are so duplicitous, they're such liars that we got to come up with stuff, and try to figure out what the hell's going on. And we hear stuff like this, and we don't know whether it's true or not. Now, the government could have come out 20 years ago probably and told us that, hey, everybody, look what we found out. The earth just makes it. But they wouldn't. I know they wouldn't. That's the only thing I know that's true, is that the government lies to us. Yeah, Tripwire. I don't know if electric cars are the future. I don't know what it's going to be. I know they're demonizing, internal combustion engines. So, I don't know what the hell. Oh, are we? Isn't it? That's 30,000 miles, right, Stephanie? Yeah, I meant 30,000 feet. Is it? Oh, hell, I don't know. I would have to look that up, Stephanie, to be honest. I don't think it's 30,000 feet wide, though. If I said miles, I misspoke. Yeah. It was supposed to be obsolete in 1980, Trip. You're exactly right. Yeah, exactly, Brad. It was supposed to be million-year-old forests and dinosaurs and shit. You know what I'm saying? And it's turning out that at least there's a possibility that that might not be true. It's not fossil fuels. It's just fuel that the earth provides for us. So, yeah, that's probably real close to the mark, Brad. That's probably what we're looking at. Whatever fuel the military equipment needs is what they'll push, and what'll be the mass market fuel in the future. If they And that will depend on lobbying and, corporate greed and all this shit, not what's the best. It won't be nowhere near what's the best. I mean, though it might be, but it just depends on who has the best lobbyists and the most money to sell their shit to the military, That's yeah. Yeah, Jason, you're right. That is shallow. And that's part of the, what do you want to call it? The science, like the hard science that I tend to trust, geology and stuff, where they're actually digging up stuff and they actually have physical evidence to show in their hands, that kind of stuff. All the other ones with the theories and and the social sciences and shit like that, that's just, I don't know. I have trouble buying a lot of the stuff that's said with that other stuff, because there's just too much room to lie and maneuver and manipulate the data. If you dig up a rock out of the dirt, it's there. The rock is the data. You can hold it in your hand and show everybody. And with the other sciences, the universe is 13.8 billion years old, and we're taught that in high school, for decades, and then all of a sudden, the universe might be twice that age. It might be double that now, what they're thinking. It's probably twice that old, at least, and then there's they say that the whole universe is flying apart. Everything is moving away from everything else. That's what we're told. I've read that, I don't know, countless times, because I'm just into that kind of shit, cosmology and stuff. But then they show you there's a part of the universe, a section of the universe they call the Great Attractor, that's pulling everything to it. So how can both of those things be true at the same time? Everything's flying away from itself, but there's a great attractor out there sucking everything to it. So it just, stuff contradicts itself a lot of times in all those theories and the stuff when they go out and start studying the universe and the cosmic microwave background radiation and all that. They don't know where the hell that comes from. And I think that's how they got their evidence or their proof for the Big Bang. So I just have questions for all that shit. Flying X, glad to see you here. Oh, okay. So Rockefeller used Sinclair dinosaur to trick the public into thinking it was from dinosaurs. Yeah, that makes sense. They're constantly trying to pull the wool over our eyes and being duplicitous. And since they control the media, they've got a big old finger, MSNBC, CBS, Fox, all those channels. That's a one big finger to point out at us and say, conspiracy theorists, you know what I'm saying? If we just question it, I'm not coming up with any kind of conspiracy theory. I'm just saying, are you lying? Are you lying right now? Conspiracy theorist. You're not telling me the truth. You're hiding some shit. That's what I'm saying. Oh, okay. Sideways drilling from under the land. All right. I wasn't really sure the exact definition of fracking, Brad. Green River does, Trip? The biggest shale oil deposit known? Okay. Candy, glad to see you here. I'm glad you made it. Yeah, there, and I know y'all who've been following me for a while have heard me say it many times, but there's a big difference between evidence and proof. You show me proof, okay, I won't argue, but you can show me mountains of evidence, and the most obvious example of that, in my opinion, is the flat Earth versus the spherical Earth. There are mountains of evidence for flat Earth, so I don't judge anybody for choosing to believe that the Earth is flat. There's a lot of evidence for it, but there's also a lot of evidence for a spherical Earth. You can't deny that. Okay, so both sides have a lot of evidence. That's where I'm at with that, with most things, until I get some proof. Now, but I actually have some proof. Have seen proof of the spherical Earth in my own life experience. So I'm going with the spherical one, but I don't blame people for questioning and going along and thinking that the Earth is flat, choosing to believe that the Earth is flat, because there's a lot of evidence for it. And until you get proof one way or the other, you cannot know. You simply cannot know. Not for sure. R. Snider, what's up, buddy? Glad you can make it, man. Glad to see you here, Snider. Yeah, we're talking about all kinds of stuff. Broken toes, self-filling our teeth, horses, ponies, and the universe, conspiracy theories, oil. We're all over the place today. Oh, yeah. Yeah, those kind of people, Dead Wolf. I hate to hear that kind of shit. Thieving, lying, treacherous. Sons of bitches, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the kind of shit we face, man. That's the kind of shit that happens to us. And I hate to hear that it happened to you, dude, but that's exactly how the government treats us. Yeah. Oh, yeah, me too, Tripwire. They should be, instead of going to Mars and shit, they should be trying to mine these asteroids, in my opinion. Until they prove that there's some valuable stuff on Mars that would help the people of Earth. They say, I haven't heard anything about that, though. Yeah, Flying X. Okay, that makes sense to me. Making it seem finite will up the price, you say, Rockefeller said. So yeah, that makes sense, because they would make more money if you had a choice. Okay, it's finite and I make more money, or it's infinite and I don't make as much money. They're going to use the same amount either way or the other. One way they give me a bunch of their money, the other way they give me a little bit of their money. So what are we going to do? That's cut and dry to me. I believe that. Yeah, that's damn near proof right there. When you think about it, and you think about the greed of people, especially people like that. Yeah, I don't think there's much they wouldn't do. Yeah, Tripwire, you're right. They're just assholes with legs, dude. Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that, Candy. Like I was saying, I don't judge anybody for being a flat earther. There's lots of evidence for it. I've seen it. I've seen all it, and the evidence makes sense. That's a good argument to be made for the flat Earth. But we got to end up on one side or the other of that line. Either flat or spherical. I landed on the spherical side. Oh, Snider, I don't know. Is it? Is that what they call the oil patch in Alberta, Canada? I don't know. I've never heard it. I've heard of the Green River deposit, but I've never heard of the oil patch. Yeah, that sucks, man. Dead Wolf. Hate that for you, man. Oh, okay. All right, Wyoming, Colorado, and Utah. Yep, that's true, Brad. We're still the third rock from the sun. You're right about that. No matter what, no matter what else it is. But yeah, that's one thing that stuff Dead Wolf is going through right now. I don't know how many of y'all have been through similar stuff, similar situations, but it's one thing Gen X, we always persevere. We always survive. We find a way, right? I have confidence in Dead Wolf that he's gonna find a way through that shit he's going through, and he'll be all right in the end. You know what I mean? I was doing that. I think it was a live stream. I forget now, but when I said, the entire time growing up, we've always been willing to take chances because life is always throwing shit at us, and it's either all right or it isn't. Either way, it's going to turn out one way or the other, and we just find ourselves in tough spots, but we always find a way out, right? It seems that way to me. I know I always have. I've found myself in some really sticky situations financially but it always turns out, I may have to work harder for longer sometimes, or sit there and figure out an idea, or rack my brain for several days trying to figure something out. But I always figure it out. I always come out somehow on the other end, and I'm still alive, and I'm a little wiser, and I think better off for the experience in the end. Now, you can't say that when you're in it. When you're going through hell, you can't say, "Oh, I'm better off." No, I'm not saying that shit. When I'm going through hell, I'm just as much of a pity party as anybody else, in my head anyway. Why is this happening to me? You know what I'm saying? So don't get me wrong there. But years afterwards, I can look back and say, hey, I learned some valuable lessons there. So, yeah. Yeah, I've heard that too, Candy, that they're local. Yeah. Well, Flying X, we get into that. Now here, I gotta play devil's advocate with the Flat Earthers on the Flat Earther side, because the government, the UN, the United States government, every government will pull some shit, and psyops and mind control and manipulation and brainwashing shit. So if the earth is flat, then they have all kinds of reasons for doing that, right? So yeah, I don't take anything any government does as any kind of not even evidence. I have such skepticism about anything that comes out of a politician or a leader's mouth nowadays. No, I can't do it. So if I have my own reasons, from things I've seen myself, but even so, I watched this documentary where this guy was saying that that the moon landings were faked and all this. And I wouldn't put it past the government to fake the moon landings. Now, I'm not saying all of them are fake, but At least the first two, whatever it was, they could have faked very easily. Now, you hear that the moon landings were faked, and then people want to say that they were all faked. It was nothing. There's no in between. There's no, common sense medium there. And that I think is, I don't land there either. I land in the middle. I think that some of them very possibly could have been faked, especially earlier on. And then the later ones very possibly could have really happened. So I kind of sit back and reserve the right to question shit. Yeah, we haven't looked at Lunar Minerals yet. And I don't know why they're not doing more stuff on the moon, if Elon Musk was serious about going to Mars, it seems to me that it would be a lot easier to launch from the moon. You go up there and you get your rocket ready, you carry all the stuff up there, and then you launch the actual ship to Mars from the moon. Then you don't have to escape the Earth's atmosphere. You have a lot more fuel left over, because like 90% of the fuel they use or something like that is just getting out away from the Earth's atmosphere. So I don't know if is that a shady point there? Why? Or maybe I'm just too ignorant. I don't understand the physics of it and stuff, and I just don't know. But it seems just me thinking about it, sitting there on the couch, it seems like it would be a lot easier to put the rocket on the moon, then fuel it up, and then blast off. But I don't know. Seems like there's still more stuff that we could do on the moon. Yeah, I'm with you, Candy. I don't believe anything they say. I don't care if they tell me that. And that's the main reason I have for questioning anything. And the main reason I have for not completely naysaying flat earthers and stuff is because the government is telling me that the earth is a sphere. So I can't, if that was all I had to go by, I wouldn't believe it. I just wouldn't believe it. Whatever they tell me, not until I experience something with my own two eyes and my own senses that that make me believe it for myself. If the government says it, it's a lie. It's a lie. I don't know if they're capable of telling us the truth. Yeah, greasebag, exactly. Scientists and doctors can be paid off. And I say that, and people get upset with that. Like, scientists are these altruistic, they're almost angelic, right? They're almost perfect when it comes to that. They would never lie. They would never falsify data. They would never do this. They do science. That's all they do is science. That's it. They're practically angelic robots. And we all know this is bullshit. They're just people. They got bills to pay, they got to pay alimony and doctor's fees and just like we do. So to say that a human being will cut some corners and pull some strings and fudge some shit to get ahead in life, that's not crazy talk. That's just common sense. That's just real talk. You know what I mean? So these scientists who are out there telling you to trust the science and get your pokey poke and take your medicine and all this stuff. Nope. I don't believe them. I don't believe what they say about our food. I don't believe what they say about our medication coming out of the pharmaceutical industry. I don't believe what they say about GMOs, Monsanto and Roundup and all that shit. Nope. I saw them lie through their teeth about cigarettes back in the day. And then all those scientists that were hard at work making cigarettes more addictive, they moved over to the food industry to make food more addictive. Yeah, scientists are just like everybody else. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of good ones, but there are bad ones too. Yeah, Snider, yeah. The first, I think, Gen X, we should build our own rocket ship and beat Elon Musk to Mars and just claim that bitch. You know what I mean? Put a Gen X flag on there. That'd be awesome. Yes. Yeah, Greasebag, you're absolutely right. It has become more like a religion because people will, if you think about it, people will. Yeah, Stephanie, Dr. Fauci's a scientist. Enough said. Yeah, exactly. But people will defend science now like they defended religion when I was growing up. And you're not allowed to talk about science or question science now. Just like you weren't allowed to talk about religion or question religion when I was a kid. Nowadays, you can blaspheme and do all you want against Christianity and nobody bats an eye. That's just par for the course. That happens every day. We've been normalized into that. It doesn't matter. But how dare you question the science? No. And you'll get called all kinds of shit and canceled and everything else. I can't. That word canceled. Cancel doesn't even mean anything anymore. It used to be back when what's his name, Alex Jones got canceled. He got canceled. Now, being canceled doesn't even mean anything anymore. It's just stupid shit people say. Yeah, Wiley Ann, you're absolutely right. Some scientists already have a result in mind, and then they go looking for ways to prove it. Absolutely. And if they don't, if the data that gets back to them disproves it, then it would be tempting to fudge the data a little bit because they are pressured to get published. They're pressured to keep their job and advance in their career. They need to get published. So, and it's good to have some groundbreaking shit to get published with. So if you're positive you have some groundbreaking shit and you spend, a year and a half experimenting and it turns out that you were wrong, you were full of shit, you were completely wrong, and you just wasted a year and a half of your life, how tempting would it be to say, I'll just change that number, I'll just move that decimal point, and no one will be the wiser, No one needs to know. I'll get that raise, and it won't hurt anybody, you know what I'm saying? That kind of shit happens all the time. I would bet my left arm on it. Yeah, Snider. Yeah, that's a good point. How can other countries enforce laws on possessions of planets if they don't have the technology to enforce it? Yeah. And what are they going to do? They're going to flap their arms and fly to Mars and arrest Elon Musk for claiming it or whoever, Yeah. Yeah, that's true, Trip. Yeah, it'll go back to almost like the colonial days where, people would just be defending where they're at. If they can't defend it, then it belongs to someone else. If they can, then it's theirs. South Florida, Doug. What's up, Doug? How's it going, man? AF, glad to see you here. How's it going? A big push to get published. Okay, I thought so. That's what I had read and figured out. Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot of pressure on science, and I'm not, saying that scientists or all scientists or anything are pieces of shit. I'm just saying that they are human beings. Scientists are human. They have pressure on them to pay the bills. You know what I'm saying? They have pressure to pay the bills. They have pressure to get advancement in their career. They have pressure, to do all kinds of things. So they're human like me and you. That's all I'm saying. And every human being makes mistakes. And hopefully they learn from them. But I'm just saying I can't trust them like, just wholeheartedly 100% everything that comes out of their mouths, because I know they're human beings and they're fallible like the rest of us. Oh, okay, AF. Yeah. But you can imagine after 3-year project how many people might just, decide to fudge a little bit and publish anyway. Maybe they're about to whatever, how many life pressures, outside of work can be affecting their decision making, where they might just, just squeeze this one by. I know that stuff happens. And it's not that they're evil or they're bad people or anything. They're just people. That's all I'm saying. They're fallible just like the rest of us. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we need to get us some Gen X flags. Garbanzo beans, Wylan. Oh, yeah, thank you, Brad. Don't forget to like and share, y'all, if you would, please. Brad reminded me to say it. He reminded you, but I'm just saying it again. I always forget. I would do the whole show without saying it. But, yeah, please like and share, if you would. 13% of the world population. Yeah. That's probably about right. I think we're 65 million in the United States. Gen Xers in the United States, around there somewhere. But then I just read that they found evidence that the population of the world, that science could be off on that number by like 1 or 2 billion. They completely got it wrong because they discounted a lot of dense rural communities. They're counting, they kind of do an average across rural communities, but there are some pretty dense rural communities out there around the world, and they completely missed them, basically. So the population could be more like 11 billion, So there could be more people on the planet than we even know. Yeah, all hail the 80s. Yeah, that could be our religion, the 80s. Yeah. I've seen though, they actually have like cheap, I don't know how cheap they are. Well, they're made in China probably, so they're probably pretty cheap. But the video games, like Pac-Man and stuff, the old arcade type video games, but they're smaller. They're smaller than the old cabinets we used to play in, but you can actually get one at a fairly decent price and just bring it home. Yeah, I saw one of those somewhere. Yeah, Stephanie, that's the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And they think that they got it wrong in a lot of places like that. So they're thinking there might be quite a few more people on the planet than they originally reported. And it's crazy. I remember reading a Silver Surfer comic book when I was a kid, and they said there were 3 billion people on the planet back then. 3 billion. And I thought about that, and I was like, damn, that's a lot of people. How the hell can the Earth support that many people? There's no way. And now here we are at 9 billion or 11 billion, depending on who you want to believe. And it doesn't seem that much more crowded, not here in the United States. I mean, it does when if I have to drive through Orlando or something, it's pretty damn crowded, don't get me wrong. But now here where I live, it doesn't seem that much more crowded. How about where y'all live? Is it really crowded where y'all live? I know a lot has changed over the years. As I grew up here in this area, and this was all orange orchards as far as you could see. Everything was orange orchards. That's where the United States used to get their oranges, was from Florida. Now we get them from Argentina or some damn where, some shit like that. But yeah, the they just bought up all those orchards and just plowed them over and built houses. Oh, the news is saying the population was overestimated. Well, yeah, see, you can read shit, and either one, the stuff I read could be completely wrong, or that stuff there could be completely wrong. Maybe there's only 6 or 7 billion people on the planet. Hell, I don't know. Yeah. Oh yeah, we'll definitely set that up, Snider. Yeah. I'll be who was it? Betsy Ross? I think it was Betsy Ross who sewed the first American flag, right? I'll be Jesse Ross. I'll be sewing the first Gen X flag. Yeah, I'll be sitting there in a rocking chair sewing us a Gen X flag. We take some shit over. Yeah, Stephanie. That's some dense population down there. I had to go down there for some reason a couple years ago, and it's like being in a different country. I'm serious. Miami's totally different. Don't look at Miami and think that's Florida. That ain't Florida. Yeah, that's not Florida. You think there's a lot less than we were told flying X? Yeah, totally possible. I don't know what the hell to believe now. Yeah, that's totally possible. Oh, Candy, supposedly that flag was made with hemp. Oh, yeah, that's totally believable. I heard that wasn't George Washington, wasn't he a hemp farmer? I believe so. If my memory serves, or maybe it was another one of our founding fathers, but I could have swore it was George Washington was a hemp farmer. That's what he did, you know. Yeah, it'd be camouflage, yeah. Yeah, so we could wrap it around ourselves in a pinch and hide in the bushes for our ambush attack. Planet Gen X, yeah, Trip. We're gonna change the name to Planet Gen X, yeah. Oh, okay. That makes sense, Candy. Why'd they ever stop? Well, because they found a better way they could make more money, right? Take it out of the farmers' hands and start making that shit in other ways, that polyester crap that we have now. Oh yeah, you're right, Brad. They don't speak a whole lot of English down there. And yeah. Yeah, I haven't spent enough time down there, AF, to really say whether I love it or hate it. I'm sure the beaches are beautiful. Probably some really good food down there, I would suppose. But I just haven't spent enough time down there to really make an opinion, form an opinion on it. You know, been down there a couple times in my entire life, so I guess, and I didn't go down there for a vacation and hang out on the beach or anything. I went down there to get some shit done and came back. I don't like the drive. It's like a 6.5-hour drive down there. I don't like that shit. But yeah, I'm sure it's a cool place, especially with the beaches and stuff. It's just real crowded during certain times of the year, you know. Oh yeah, yeah, Candy, and that goes. You could say that about almost everything. It's about the money. Fuel, pharmaceuticals, food, clothing, whatever. They don't want us producing stuff and trading it amongst each other, you know, and doing this stuff, you know, and that circumvents putting money in their pockets. They don't want that shit at all. They don't want us having healthy things, because if we're healthy, then you're not begging the pharmaceutical industry for some medication, so you can feel decent during the day, you know. if you're healthy and happy and you're feeling good, oh, you don't need the pharmaceutical industry. They can go jump in a lake. So they can't have that. Oh, okay. Yeah. I haven't been to Detroit ever in my life, Snider, but I've seen pictures of it, and they'll put a picture, you've probably seen them, where they put a picture of Detroit next to a picture of Baghdad right after the war, and they basically, you can't tell the difference. Oh, Thomas Jefferson? Yeah, it could have been him or both, AF. Yeah, probably, Brad, yeah. They're probably rentals. Yeah, I've been, if you like draw a line from Florida to Washington State, I've been to every state south of that line. I've never been in the northeastern half of the country, New York, Ohio, any of that, Washington D.C. I've never been up in that northeastern part of the country, but I've been all over the southwestern half of the country. If you divided it at a diagonal like that. Yeah, yeah, we claim the villages. Yep. Yeah, that'd be awesome. Oh yeah, that's true. I think that's a big part of the indoctrination is to get people to live beyond their means like that and make credit so available. And it's easy to keep up with the Joneses when you're just digging yourself a deeper and deeper hole of debt, Just get another credit card and refinance it. Yeah, it's super stressful. Probably knocks, 15, 20 years off your life, but you're keeping up with the Joneses. So, and they glamorize that lifestyle. They glamorize that and make it seem good in some kind of way. Make it seem attractive. Yeah, true, Flying X. If there were 9 billion people, yeah, yeah, they'd have millions of views. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, me too, Candy. I just think that that's probably the most. I talked to my wife about that, and she asked me what I would like. Do you want to be buried or cremated or whatever? And I just straight up told her whatever is easiest on you. Don't go into debt to do some kind of big ceremony and shit. I'm dead. I don't care. I'm the one who cares the least. You know what I'm saying? Rent a rowboat and just roll me off in the ocean. Paddle out a ways and roll me off in the ocean, and pour a shot on my back as I flop over. Pour one out for your dead homie or whatever, and then go back. I don't care, literally. So cremation probably the most economical. So yeah, I'm with that. Whatever the people I leave behind, whatever's easiest on them, if they need some kind of closure and have a big funeral and stuff, then do that. If that's what you want. I literally, I've got no say in it. I'm not going to care, not even a little bit. So 48 states. Now, that's a lot, Stephanie. That's a lot of traveling. I've been back and forth from Florida to Washington State probably 8 times in my life, something like that. 8 or 10, somewhere around in there. I was a little kid when I did all that traveling most of the time. But, my parents would move back and forth like that. So I've been to a lot of them, but nowhere near 48. Yeah, yeah, Snyder, you're right. That would make ropes back then. Rope was a lot more useful back then too. The household needed rope. Now we don't need rope very much. Oregon, you never been to Oregon? Oregon's a pretty cool state, except for their politics. I don't know, they're kind of weird with their politics, but I like Oregon. You actually cannot. When I was there, last time I was there in the 90s, it was illegal to pump your own gas. So they had to hire a gas station attendant, just like the old days. They had a gas station attendant there, and that person would pump your gas. I just thought that was so cool. And it's one of those states where, you know, you get a nickel back if you return a bottle or whatever. Oh, okay. Traveling, yeah. Traveling. I actually entertained the idea. Had been my dream for a while to buy a sailboat and learn how to sail and just live on it and just sail from port to port and doing handyman stuff like that. So I was really, really close to pulling the trigger on that one. Yeah. Taxidermy or a full Viking funeral, huh, Lek? Taxidermy, just your head on a plaque, leg, or you want your whole body stuffed? And then what are you going to have it stuffed with? What are you going to request? Yeah, Anarchy Television. Hey, have I said hi to you yet, Anarchy? Glad to see you here. But yeah, that's how I feel. Therefore, the living. Oh, not Washington State either, huh? AF, and not Oregon either. So, yeah, that's beautiful country up there, though. I've lived in Washington and Oregon both, and I love it up there. Not necessarily, like I said, not necessarily their political bend, but the country and the people, you know, just common folks. They're wonderful. So yeah, that's some of my favorite part of the country. Yeah, Jason, you got to be dead before they cremate you. Yeah, you're right. I didn't. I forgot to tell my wife that. I might wake up on fire one of these days. I need to tell her that. Yeah. And my wife watches those murder shows. Like I said, I call them murder shows. I don't know what the hell you want to call them. They're the true crime shows. And I always tell her that she's getting pointers on how to take me out. Tease her about that shit. Yeah, I've heard that, Candy, and that hemp can make just so much stuff can be made from hemp. It's one of the most versatile things you can grow, and it used to be one of the most valuable products. It grows fast, and it doesn't take a lot of energy to grow it. You know, it's hardy. It grow at a lot of different climates and stuff. So yeah, and they just quit. They just quit doing it. Started selling other shit. Oh, it's illegal to pump gas in New Jersey. I just like that law. You know, it creates jobs for people, and hell, it just reminds me of the old days. You know. Oh, that's pretty cool, Snider. Yeah, bury under a memorial tree. Oh, okay. After your husband died? Yeah. Portland, I never spent a lot of time in Portland. I spent most of my life in either small towns or just out in the boondocks. I mean, like, just out in the woods, you know what I'm saying? So I never spent a lot of time in Portland. I grew up, I grew up all over hell, but I went to school in a small town outside Eugene. Hell, I can't even remember the name of it now, but small community outside Eugene is where I'm most familiar with in Oregon. But yeah, Oregon's beautiful country. I love it there. Embalming? You want to be embalmed like a mummy, Brad? Where are they gonna store you, dude? You gotta think. Where are they gonna store you? Gen X gonna have to come together and build you a pyramid? Huh? So They can exhume your ass in 1,000 years. He must have been a king. King Brad. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, pumping gas. It's a job that's available. Like down here in Florida, you can't do that. You can't get a job pumping gas, or probably most states. Nobody's gonna pay you to pump gas. I think they should just do that. Just out of kindness to humanity. Those big gas station companies, Racetrack and 7-Eleven, they should just do that. They make plenty of money in Oregon. It's not like they went broke and they couldn't afford to do business in Oregon because they had to hire a couple more people. It's ridiculous. But they should just do that and employ more people. They'll have robots doing it pretty quick. You want to be stuffed full size, huh? All right, leg. In a rocking chair with a pipe, still smoking. Shotgun on the lap. Trip. Yeah. Yeah, in a pyramid. All right, Brad. Oh, yeah, we'll carve a bunch of emojis all over the pyramid. Yeah. Yeah, anarchy. Yeah, that'd be awesome. They could unearth Brad in 1,000 years and create a bunch of theories on what area he ruled and shit. He ruled from Canada clear down to Mexico. He's the only one who has a pyramid. That would be awesome, Stephanie. Scaring people with your frozen corpse for the next 50 years. That'd be bad. You'd have to pose though. You'd have to set yourself up in a pose. As they come around the corner, they bump into you. Yeah. Yeah, old man. I think my wife would throw some grits in that boiling water first, though, so they'd be sticky. So I couldn't just dry off real quick. Those grits would stick to my ass. Yeah. Oh yeah, cursive too, Tripwire. Yeah, it'd take them 1,000 years to decipher that shit. Yep, you're right, Trip. Yeah. Yeah, but we definitely have to come up with our own flag. Yeah, with some I don't know, maybe a bike jumping a ramp or something. What kind of silhouette would signify Gen X? We would know right off the bat that was Gen X. A simple thing. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think about that. A simple silhouette, a simple shape that would let everybody know that's Gen X right off the bat. You look at it, Gen X. Although I just saw, I ran across this thing the other day. It was an article somebody had written. Must have been, I don't know, a millennial or a Gen Z guy wrote this article about, and it said a list of things a list of things that boomers did that the younger generations would never do today, right? So then I clicked on it and started reading through it, and his whole list of things was Gen X. It was just Gen X. That's all the stuff we did. All right. He didn't know. He thought it was boomers. He was confused. He thought boomers did that stuff. He didn't know the difference between Gen X and boomers, or he doesn't know that Generation X exists or whatever. But he basically was calling us boomers, right? The whole article, throughout the whole article, he was calling us boomers, or he was thinking that boomers did our shit. You know what I'm saying? That boomers came home when the streetlights came on and all that, drank out of the water hose and all that stuff. Latchkey kids, all that. Yeah, he thought all that was boomers. So I just, for a professional writer to write about something and not even know the name of the generation he's writing about, that just blew my mind. Oh, okay. AF, there. Okay, so you have the option of full service. That would be cool. Lighting the world on fire, yeah. That'd be a good one, Stephanie. Yeah, yeah, Snider. Feed the shot out of a cannon into the Everglades, so you can feed the gators and snakes. Yeah, that would be a good one too. What is that? Gator Traz or Alcatraz and the gators or whatever? Alligator Traz. Yeah, yeah. We could fatten up the gators and the snakes, so when the illegals got out, they'd be nice and strong. They'd be able to chase them down real easy. Pitchfork and duct tape. Yeah. Oh yeah, that would be good. Anarchy. Those metal foot pedals on a bike wrapped in a garden hose. Yeah, that would be a good one. You can get embalmed and cremated. Yeah, I think they embalm you. I don't know. I'd have to look that one up, AF. Oh, lawn darts. Yeah, that would be a good one, Snider. I remember those things. Holy shit. Those things were so dangerous. What the hell were grown-ups thinking back then? The brick cell phone. Yeah. Oh, the bike ramp jump. Yeah, any of that stuff really would signify us, you know? And the BMX coming off a ramp, you'd have to have some kind of rickety ramp, like two cinder blocks kind of at an odd angle to each other. Oh, Playboy Bunny, yeah. Yep. That would work too. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how all that kind of stuff has gone away. You know, Playboy and all that stuff, and all that stuff we used to. It was prominent back then. So much of it has gone away. Anything to do with a mall now. Sears, Montgomery Ward, J.C. Penney, all that stuff, and those seemed like a fourth place prize ribbon. Yeah. Yeah, Flying X, that would do it. But those seemed eternal to me when I was a kid. Like Sears would never go away. Blockbuster, all that stuff. That stuff just seemed eternal, like it was part of the civilization, part of the world, like a mountain or something, It just seemed bigger than life. Sears and all that. And then, as you go along, you live life and you hear that, Sears is going bankrupt and Blockbuster is completely gone away. I think the only Blockbuster left on the planet is in Oregon. That's the only one that stayed open, is in Oregon. That's what I read. I don't know how true it is, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of sad in a way to see all those iconic things from our childhood and growing up, the things that were so big, You
You expect to see the smaller things change, but who would have foresaw that, that malls would just dry up and evaporate? They would just go away. Who saw that, Sears would go completely bankrupt and that Blockbuster would just vanish? Seemed like, I thought that Blockbuster would update with the times. We get, we had DVDs, and eventually there would be a new format that they would be renting their shit on. I never foresaw this whole streaming thing where nobody even rents shit anymore. Never saw that coming. So there's a lot of stuff like that that's vanished over the years because of technology and marketing. We're marketed, brainwashed, marketed, whatever you want to call it, into certain things. We're told to believe that certain shit was cool. Kmart, a layaway and blue light special. Yep, Stephanie, that was another thing. A Schwinn bike with a banana seat. Yeah, Candy, that's another one. Yeah. Radio Shack. Yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I just never would have, if somebody told me that all that stuff was going to go away, I would have laughed in their face. There's no way. No way. But look at us now. And that gets me to thinking about how much is going to change in the next 30 years, What are the things that seem just monumental now that are going to vanish in the next 30 years? Yeah, those wall phones, those were awesome, with those long cords so you could walk into the bathroom or into the kitchen. That was a mobile phone back then. Yeah, yep, they used to rent VCRs, Flying X. Yeah. Yeah, Blockbuster, I used to love going to Blockbuster and looking at it. They had all the boxes with all the artwork and the cover work on the, the movie poster basically on the boxes. What's up, Metal Gear? There he is. What's up, dude? Yeah, cassette tapes. Now, little stuff like that, you expect. I remember when CDs first came out, and that surprised me when CDs first came out, because I was so young when cassette tapes came out, and I remember I was just on the edge when those old, what were those, 8-track tapes? They were being phased out. So I never really listened to an 8-track or anything like that. So my entire, real young childhood was cassette tapes all the way up until CDs came out. So all I had ever experienced was cassette tapes. And when they came out with CDs, it was really surprising to me. I thought, I just thought cassette tapes were it. I thought that was what you had. It's been that way my whole life. And I remember, thinking about that, like, why would they get rid of cassette tapes? That, why would they change? That doesn't sound right. And now, we went from CDs to DVD and Blu-ray and all that stuff. And to MP3 players and all that. So now, as I grew up, I began to understand. But I still remember that when I was a kid, like, what the hell, what's with the CDs? I didn't even know there was anything else. I just thought it was cassette tapes. Gibsons? No, I don't remember Gibsons. That sounds familiar, though, Stephanie. That sounds familiar, but I can't dredge it up out of the old memory right this second. Ataris and Nintendos, yeah. I used to love I never had one myself, but I go over to my friend's house and play and stuff. Yeah, Candy, and it seems like that. It's disappeared overnight, and it's really surprising at how much has changed in such a short period of time. And when I look back through history, it really wasn't like that, you know? I mean, car models would change and stuff, and some stuff would change, from the 1900s to the 1940s. Stuff changed, but not this drastically, not that fast. Yeah, trip, be kind, rewind, yep. Oh, okay, Candy. Yeah. I remember seeing 8-track players, but I never had an 8-track to put in it. I just saw the empty 8-track player, but so I never really understood what it was. Gen X Jack. No, when I was a kid, I was really poor. I didn't get tapes even. I didn't get tapes or any of that stuff. We were too poor. So no, I didn't actually get music and listen to it like that until I was a grown man, and I got my own CDs. So really, I just got CDs, I remember picking up old cassette tapes that somebody thrown away and putting tape on the end of it over that little thing and recording on it over the radio, or maybe I broke the tab out. I forget how it went, and then recording music over the radio and stuff off of old cassette tapes I'd found. But it wasn't. I didn't grow up like that. Like, oh, mom and dad, I want the new Ozzy record or whatever. No, no, wait, nah. I'd be lucky, not to get an ass whooping. That's if I could avoid getting an ass whooping, that was enough present for me. Yeah, I used to go to my grandma's house and watch MTV. I fell in love with Headbangers Ball. That was so awesome. Yeah, yeah, and that was the end of it with iPods. Then it just kind of morphed to different different stuff. We eventually, after the iPods and the MP3 players and stuff, and then the music just went onto your phone, and then now it's just streamed, right? Something like that. Okay. Yeah, I no, I just wasn't didn't have enough money. My parents didn't have enough money to get me the tapes, the cassette tapes, let alone a cassette tape player. You know what I'm saying? At one point, I got one and fixed it or something, and so I had one at one time, some kind of used boom box at one time I got it somehow, and I remember that. But other than that, no, I never did really. And I'm not really big into music now. Maybe that's why, because I never really, I like to listen to the radio and stuff, but I just never really got big into it. I've never been to like one of the big concerts, never, not once in my life. I never really had the opportunity, really, always living out in the boondocks and with no money, as a kid, all the way up until I was a man. Then when I was a man, I was in the Army. Right out of high school, I went into the Army. Musicland, that sounds familiar too. I don't know, I can't say for sure, but that sounds familiar. Yeah, I would have too, Candy, and a lot of Gen Xers did that. A lot of Gen Xers worked, but as I said before, I just lived so far out in the boondocks. We didn't have any neighbors, and when I did live kind of in a sort of kind of a community out in the woods. My neighbors were just as poor as I was, and they couldn't afford to pay somebody to mow their lawn. Well, they didn't have lawns, to mow. So yeah, it was just not something that I could have done back then, but I would have if I had the opportunity. And I did a couple times. I got a summer job when I was in high school, and actually went out and first time I ever had bought new school clothes for that year. Double deck. Oh yeah, I bet, Trip. Yeah, those double deckers, boom boxes, it copied a lot of tapes back then. That was before what was it, LimeWire and all that. We would copy tapes off each other. Flying X. Is that true, or you just bullshit and flip the head in a cassette tape or cassette player and it records backwards? Is that true? Even the dog had an account at Columbia. Yeah. Yeah. That's another thing I'm aware of now because of y'all talking about it, and my wife told me about it, but I was unaware of the whole Columbia House thing. That whole thing just passed me by, being out in the woods and doing different shit. And we moved around so much that, hell, by the time the Columbia House sent something to me, I would already, my parents had packed us up and we were on our way to Arizona or whatever. So, yeah. I never got to do the whole Columbia House thing. No, I never had a car stereo wired to a battery in the bedroom. I think I remember one of my friends doing that though, Stephanie. Yeah, I think I remember one of my friends doing that. That just popped an image into my head, and it really familiar. I think I knew somebody who did that. Yeah. Oh, really? Anarchy? I heard that maybe I don't know if they had an off night or whatever. Guns N' Roses sucked. Or maybe they were one of those bands that sucked live. Oh, okay. Yeah, I would. That would be like a treasure to walk across some kind of discarded technology when I was a kid. A lot of times I'd pick it up and take it home and take it apart and see if I could, make it work. Most of the time I couldn't. But yeah, we've got so much, and all that stuff was so cool. It really was. Cassette players and VCRs and all that stuff. And, the technology has made everything more convenient, and I get that, but we've lost a lot for the sake of convenience. And it's just not, I don't know, all the stuff that we had back then seemed like it had more depth to it. Does that make sense? It was more real. You held the cassette tape in your hand, or you modified a car stereo and hooked it up in your bedroom too. I mean, even though that's a MacGyver job, it's real, and it's cool. If you can find an old car stereo and wire that shit up to a battery and rock out in your bedroom, that's a real experience. You've learned something, you did something. Now with all this streaming shit and just ordering everything off Amazon, you just tap your phone a few times, and a couple days later, next day, your doorbell rings and there's some boxes on your step. Yeah, that's convenient, but I honestly, I really miss the days where we would go to the mall and look at the different stores and do stuff, you know. And even Walmart, you know, they sell clothes and car batteries and fishing tackle and food and baby diapers and shit. Everything you can think of is sold at Walmart. And that's kind of the same thing. You know, back when I was a kid, all of those stores would be different. You know, you would go to a shoe store to buy some shoes, and you would go to a music store to buy music, and then you would go to a clothing store to buy clothes, and then then to the grocery store to buy groceries. And I miss those days, you know. It was, each store had its own feeling, its own kind of charisma, and its own, the people in each store had their own attitude. And you know, you knew at that one store the teller lady, or she was kind of a bitch, and then at the other store the dude, he was a grumpy old bastard. But you know, so it just had a lot more character. The entire world had a lot more character and depth back then. And I don't think it's just a nostalgia thing. I don't think it's just me saying, you know, Gen X rocks and the 80s were awesome. I think that the 80s actually were awesome, truly and sincerely, because of that depth. Because we experienced life a lot more, and just doing everyday things. Just getting a pair of shoes. You had to get up off the couch, get in the car, drive over there, talk to somebody. You know, you might bump into one of your friends, or heaven forbid, you bump into your teacher. You know what I'm saying? Remember that? You'd bump into your teacher. Oh, Mrs. Smith. Oh, you're a real human being. I didn't know you bought shoes at the store like we do. I thought there was like this, this teacher shoe place that you go to or something on Mars or some shit. You actually come to the shoe store like a normal person? Holy cow. You know, it was just so surprising to see your teacher out behaving like a normal human being. I remember that shit. Yeah. And they don't have that anymore. You know, they just don't. Yeah. And I think that the kids are really, they're missing out. They really are. They don't know it. They don't understand it, but they're missing out on that. And their lives would be richer and better, you know, for that. Setting aside all the arguments about the economy and all that kind of shit that's going on. I'm just talking about the technology. All right, Candy. All right. Thank you for showing up. We got about a few more minutes here, so we'll keep going. Yeah, as the world turns, yeah. I think my mom used to watch, what was that one, General Hospital with Luke and Laura. I still remember those two characters' names from when I was a kid, Luke and Laura. Oh, okay. I haven't been to a mall in a long time. Wiley Ann, they have people in kiosks. Yeah, I miss it. I miss it too. When we'd meet up there, and I didn't get to experience it a lot, but I lived in town a few times, and meet up there at the mall, and browse in the music store. And what was that? What was the name of that store? Now I'm gonna the store with all the cool stuff in it. Had just all kinds of weird random stuff in it. Nothing, no particular theme, except it was just weird. PJTJ, something like that. Okay, Stephanie, thanks for dropping by. Oh, you had the high top Nikes? Yeah, those were the shit back then. Yeah, Flying X. One pair of a year, huh? Did you take care of them? Probably not. Oh, glamour shots. Yeah, we can't forget those. No, I never did either. I remember my parents watching it though, and even the nighttime soap operas, Dallas, Who Shot JR, and what was the other one? Crystal or shit, I can't remember the other one now. Spencer's, yeah, Gen X Jack, that was it. Spencer's, yep, yeah, Flying X, Spencer's. All right, Greasebag, thanks for dropping by, man. I appreciate it sincerely, dude. I appreciate you spending time with us, man. Thank you. Licorice pizza, yeah, Wiley Ann. Or is that the name? Oh, is that a name of a store, Wiley Ann? I thought you were talking about like I remember like candy pizza or bubblegum pizza that was just, different, probably different food colorings in the same candy, but it made to look like pizza. Yeah. Yeah, Tripwire. More depth, more character, more reality versus robotic convenience. Yeah, exactly. Oh, you had the Reebok pumps, dude? Metal Gear had the Reebok pumps. Yeah, those were awesome. I remember when they first came out. Oh, you got your first Jordans at the mall, Brad? Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. A record store, Wiley Ann? Yeah. Running into friends at the mall, and that shit was awesome. And I've seen a few times where the younger kids bitch about us because because we're nostalgic, because we think the 80s were so great and all this shit and all, and trying to explain to one of them like, no, we're not, we're not just like you think, just missing the good old days, old people do. That's not it. The 80s was awesome. It was awesome. It was the best time to be a kid, period. End of story. I mean, we had that one brief window, and we were lucky enough to grow up during that time period. I mean, to me, that's just amazing that I got to grow up during that time. Before that, maybe the 50s, when they were racing and they did a lot of drag racing and stuff in the 50s with the hot rods, that might compare, but they didn't have the technology we had and stuff, the cool ass technology we had. It just wasn't the same. And telepathy? Trip? What do you mean by telepathy? Oh, okay, Flying X. Yeah, they got destroyed playing in the creek. Yeah. Yeah, I had one pair of new shoes. That was when I had that summer job, and I skipped school, and somehow I lost one. We were playing around. I was trying to keep them new, and I, took them off and playing in the creek. Somehow I got back. We were all barefooted. We never put our shoes, and I lost one. Yeah. So that was. I was so upset when I lost one of my new shoes. Yeah. Yeah, Brad, the telephone didn't dictate our lives. And because we spent so much time outside with each other, just with each other, we were immune to that brainwashing shit. All right, Brad, be cool, buddy. Thanks for dropping by, man. I appreciate it, dude. Yep, you're right, Lake. Yeah, and that's crazy. Just that simple thing, Lake, that things can be fixed and you can fix them. you know, that knowledge is lost, that you can fix things. How the hell can that simple piece of knowledge get lost? It blows my mind. Oh yeah, me and my cousin used to call them 900 number hotlines, Metal Gear. Yeah. Yeah, Gen X Jack, exactly. It's designed not to be fixed now. Yep. It's designed to just be thrown in the garbage and go into a landfill, and you buy another one. Yep, that's exactly right. And I hear the term a lot, but I can never designed obsolescence. Is that the planned obsolescence or designed obsolescence? Yeah, so everything goes obsolete, and when a company gets caught, actually messing with your stuff so it doesn't work anymore, then nothing happens. Nobody cares. You just deal with it. How do we fix it, Lek? Asteroid, solar strike, maybe some other kind of EMP, grid down scenario. I don't want to say nuclear war, because I don't know. I'm not into the whole nuke thing. That's not my apocalypse. I'm into just a straight up grid down, just no power. I want to see a solar storm just fry every circuit on this planet, put us back to the Stone Age. That's what I want to see. Meteor, that would be a bad one too. I wouldn't root for a meteor. Zombies would be nice. Yeah, that would give us an enemy to fight, as long as they're the slow zombies, Walking Dead type zombies. I don't want them fast zombies, that could catch up to me and drag me down and shit. My knee hurts sometimes, and I just broke my toe, so I can't run very fast right now. So I want the walkers. I don't want them fast, skittering ass zombies. No. Or any epidemic. I don't know if y'all have read that book, The Stand, by Stephen King. Maybe there's an epidemic just waiting to pop out there that only Gen X is immune to. Maybe that would be killer. Yeah. Yeah, me too, Metal Gear. Mad Max, yeah, old man, that would be cool. Give me some Mad Max. Give me some kind of Mad Max scenario. Yeah. Yeah, Flying X. Yeah, they can't sell them to us if there isn't a battery compartment. Yeah, Wiley. And yeah, Snake Plissken. Yep. Something like that. That would put a screeching halt to that shit. Some kind of apocalypse. And I'm not too picky as far as apocalypses go. It could be a plague, as long as I'm immune to it, and the people that I want to be immune to it are immune to it. That's why I like that book, The Stand. They've made it into TV shows a couple times, and they all sucked as far as I'm concerned. But I like the book, and like what, maybe 1% of the population survived that disease, Captain Trips, and of course the government accidentally set it loose. It's some shit the government cooked up. We're on the same wavelength, Trip. Yeah. All right, AF. Go take care of your patient. Hopefully they're all right. Yeah, it was Spencer's, AF. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah. Yep. But and there could be all kinds of apocalypses. An ice age would pretty much be an apocalypse if it happened, fast enough, you know. I don't know if you have, what was that movie with Dennis Quaid where a super ice age came in like in the span of a week or something? That's a pretty cool movie too. I like that one. I like any decently done apocalypse movies. That movie 2012, I like that one. It could have been a little bit better, you know, but it was entertaining enough, and it just the subject matter was enough for me. But I like all that apocalyptic stuff. The Day After Tomorrow, yeah, Metal Gear, that's the one. Yep, that's actually a pretty damn good movie. I like that one. But it seems like I've been watching these movies for, you know, my entire life, from Mad Max when I was just a little kid all the way up until now, and I look for them. I look for them when I'm scrolling through. Too bad that most of them are, you know, kind of shitty B movies now. They're not real top quality shit like they used to make. But I was actually surprised because I've always been that way, kind of in the back of my mind, and kind of hope for an apocalypse. And I've always liked, you know, apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic books and movies and stuff. I've just always been into that shit as far back as I can remember. And I was really surprised when I started this channel and I began to learn that a lot of Gen X is like that. A lot of Gen X, you know, is just like me in that apocalyptic scenario thing. We kind of hope for it. So, yeah, it's cool to find a group of people who are into that as well, you know, and you could talk about that shit and share views on it. Yeah, a new ice age. Well, for here where I live in Florida, it would be nice. Hell, it would just turn Florida into, you know, a regular part of the country, not this blazing hot jungle we have now. It'd be nice here in Florida after an ice age. All right. Well, I'm gonna call it here. It's time. I gotta go eat dinner and get ready for bed and wake up and go to work tomorrow. We'll be back on normal schedule, so it'll be pre-recorded videos, you know, back to like I normally do this next week rather. Streamio for free streaming. Okay, I'll check it out. Laic, thank you. Yeah, I'll check that out. But let me see. I want to say goodbye to Laic, Metal Gear, Jason Lamore, Tripwire, Old Man, AF. Did I say Wiley Ann already? I might have already said her, but Wiley Ann, Flying X, Metal Gear Punisher, Gen X Jack, Brad Harris. Who else we got here? We had quite a few today. Candy. I think a lot of people have already left, already signed out. Stephanie, Anarchy Television, Ohio Valley Prepping, Greasebag McQueen. All right. Flying X. I don't know if I said Flying X already, but thank y'all for showing up and hanging out with me for a couple hours. I like doing this shit. Yeah, I love this shit. Coming on here and shooting the shit with y'all. This is awesome. So thank you for showing up. Sincerely, I really do appreciate it. Have a wonderful time with this stuff. So regular pre-recorded videos this week now, and my next live stream will be Saturday morning, 4 a.m. Eastern time, and then again Sunday afternoon, 4 p.m. Eastern time. All right, and I'll leave you there with that. As always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.